Today's story starts like any good one does, inside of a jail cell. But while the executioner upstairs is sharpening his axe, I want to tell you about the time I collected every single piece of cheese in Skyrim. No, I'm not kidding. But how did this even begin? Well, like most things, it started with an idea. What if I collected all of the cheese in Skyrim, put it all inside of Cheesehome so that it could be called Cheesehome? But how would I even do this? I mean, it's not like there's some kind of cheese map that I can just look up, because I already checked, there is none. And so, with no other options remaining, that's right, literally not a single one, I decided that I would just have to create my own map. And thankfully, I had an idea for this. See, Skyrim was made using this thing called the Creation Kit. And this isn't some kind of developer exclusive thing. No, you can actually install this thing and make specific changes to your game. So I loaded Skyrim's ESM file, filtered for the word cheese in the object window, and this showed me exactly how much cheese there was in the game. Which just so happened to be 1,770. Now sure, this is helpful, but it still doesn't show me where the cheese is, and I was able to solve that by clicking the Use Info button, which shows me all of the associated cells for those objects of cheese. The only problem with this is the Creation Kit doesn't allow you to copy and paste information out of it, which means it was time for me to do what I do best, which is put off my English assignments. So I spent the next 2 weeks taking all of that data from the Creation Kit, compiling it into a spreadsheet, cross-referencing the data inside of that spreadsheet to create this. This map features the rough locations of every single piece of cheese in the game, and I was going to collect all of it. Now as far as plans go, I didn't really have one, but I did decide to tackle things on a hold-to-hold basis, meaning I collect all of the cheese in one area before moving on to the next. So I turned on my PC, began loading Skyrim, and took a refreshing sip of some water. From here, I would enter character creation and write a name that rivals even that of ancient legends. Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Electus. Yeah, okay. Following this, I went for the opening of the game, then made it all the way to Riverwood, where I would collect the first piece of cheese, marking the beginning of this challenge. One down, 1,769 to go. Now obviously, I didn't just stop here, I also ransacked the rest of Riverwood before repeating the same thing at Honningbrew Meadery and all of the farms surrounding Whiterun. As it turns out though, my little robbing spree would have some consequences, because before even making it to the city gates, I ended up getting attacked by a group of mercenaries. Someone in Riverwood wasn't too happy about me stealing all of their cheese. This is made even funnier by the fact that it was Dorothy, who is a literal child. I made sure to go back later and not only steal her cheese again, but also steal her parents. Alright, that little shit's going straight to Honor Hall Orphanage. Now upon arriving at Whiterun, you might assume that the first thing I did was go around and collect all of the cheese. But if I did this, my inventory would get filled up very quickly, and I didn't have enough money to purchase Cheesehome yet. Thankfully, there are a number of different ways that you can make money in Skyrim, and the method that I decided to go with was drugs. I made a lot of drugs. I'm talking like enough to... Okay, well, it's not drugs per se, it's potions that I happened to make using very illicit substances. At one point, I saw an Imperial officer skulking around my property. You know, it would be a real shame if something happened to that guy. And I'm not saying that in a threatening way, I'm saying it because I killed him. A couple hours of grinding later, I had enough money to purchase Cheesehome, along with the upgrade required for it to spawn in the additional cheese. Without having to worry about my inventory getting full, I was now able to take all of Whiterun's cheese before repeating the same thing at all of these locations. Most of these places followed the same format. Go there, kill some people, and then steal their stuff. But as I made my way to Drellis Cottage, I was able to catch a glimpse of a rare new species of mammoth that are currently developing the ability to fly. I'm not sure which evolutionary purpose this serves, but oh boy, was it beautiful. The only piece of cheese that really gave me any trouble during this was this one piece of mammoth cheese at Sleeping Tree Camp, which for some reason is placed under the floor. It took me a long time to realize this, so to whichever unpaid intern at Bethesda is responsible for this, I just want you to know that you wasted about 20 minutes of my life. Thanks, Bethesda. Once it was all said and done, my total amount of cheese collected so far added up to 217. Not bad, but I knew that I still had a long way to go. After making it through a giant camp in the abandoned prison, I arrived at Fort Mole, where I died. I don't want to hear a single one of you mention the difficulty. Now sure, this was a little annoying, but realistically, it's not that bad. I could just come back later. I'm scanning for cheese. I'm activating my cheese scanning superpowers. Scanning. I don't see any fucking cheese. Wait. Hold on a second. No cheese. After entering Iverstead, I took a quick detour up to High Hrothgar, where I would learn the single best shout in the entire game. That's right, Whirlwind Sprint. Is your inventory full of cheese preventing you from running? Whirlwind Sprint. Need to quickly close the distance on an annoying mage spamming fireballs. Whirlwind Sprint. The IRS is knocking at your door asking why you haven't filed a tax return in 5 years. Whirlwind Sprint. I would use this shout to get all the way to Riften, which unsurprisingly took much longer than a Whiterun to finish, as it has double the amount of cheese, with a lot of that being locked behind quest lines. You know, I'm sure that definitely won't become a problem later on. Speaking of quest lines, it was in Riften that I would join up with the Thieves Guild. Pretty early on, they give you the quest Loud and Clear, which grants access to Golden Glow Estate. For this quest, they tell you to send a message by breaking into the estate and being very careful to only burn down 3 beehives. So naturally, I destroyed every single one. You're a dead man! Now, I didn't just come here to burn beehives. See, Golden Glow Estate has 33 cheese, and as I mentioned, it can only be accessed because of this quest. You might think that it just ends there, but it doesn't. Because returning to the Thieves Guild HQ, I collected 7 cheese, only to realise that for the remaining 5 to spawn in, you have to fully restore the Thieves Guild. I'm over here trying to collect everything in a timely fashion? Yeah, denied. Needless to say, this would be a very long and tedious process, involving dozens of quests. So for now, I had to settle with collecting most of the cheese in Riften, and then coming back to finish the rest of it later, bringing the total cheese count so far up to 579. Oh, yes please. After this, the most natural next step was Windhelm. Same as last time, I started off by stealing cheese from the giants, then made my way up to Kynesgrove before arriving at the stables and grabbing up all of the cheese in the nearby farms. Then I went up this hill towards Traitor's Post, where I died. Twice. Listen, okay, I don't want to hear a single thing about the difficulty. This guy's using 21st century technology. I'm over here with my little magic sword, while he's shooting high explosive ammunition at me, okay? This was not a fair fight. Just look what he did to my skeleton. The rest of Windhelm didn't give me as much difficulty. I cleared out Gallows Rock, Uttering Hills Cave, Raldbafar, and then this place, which has 2 cheese that spawn under the floor. Again. Thanks, Bethesda. The only cheese I didn't collect inside of the city itself was stuff that was locked behind quests, which I would come back for later. From here, I travelled up through Fort Gustav, collecting the 7 cheese that was there, before running into a cave interestingly called Stillborn Cave. I spent about 10 minutes fucking around in here before realising that I was actually in the complete wrong location, and the cave I was actually looking for was the Sightless Pit. So I promptly left that cave and travelled up to the Sightless Pit, where I collected its cheese and had to go through an entire Dwemer ruin just to leave again. The only thing worse than this though was the place that I was going to next, Winterhold. I think the main reason people come here is for the College of Winterhold, which in of itself doesn't have a lot of cheese, and joining them can also be a bit of a pain in the ass. I mean, they teach you barely any magic, and after a few short quests, you're suddenly the Archmage. The most accurate thing about this entire place is probably how expensive the tuition is. Now, obviously, before dealing with all of that, I had to take care of the town itself. And it was here in the Winterhold Inn that I noticed a particular book sitting on a shelf called The Arcturian Heresy, not to be confused with that other heresy. I read through the whole thing, and it basically showcases that Tiber Septim might not have been that great of a guy, which would probably offend the Nords if they were actually able to read. Wait a second. Now sure, collecting all of the cheese in Winterhold didn't take that long, But what did take a long time was the fact that I then had to join the college, sit through this lesson, before taking a trip to Starfall, having a bad acid trip, then returning to the college, getting rewarded with a staff I'm never going to use, then being told to go get these books back, which granted me access to the cheese at Felgo Keep, then returning the books to the college, experiencing another acid trip where I get told to go talk to this floating guy, and finally travel to Mizulft, where I would spend about another 20 minutes trying to find this one annoying little basket containing 2 cheese and is overall incredibly easy to miss. Oh my god. Yo! Yo! Okay, that's all of it. That's all 5 from Mizulft. Despite all my efforts, by this point, I only had around 745 cheese, or in other words, not even half the amount required to finish this challenge. This would all change, however, with Dawnstar. I'm sorry, I lied. There's barely any cheese here. I started with Driftshade Refuge, but that's not even technically part of Dawnstar. After this, I collected the 14 at Fort Dunstad, along with the 1 at Red Road Pass, before moving on to the town itself. Now, something of note actually did happen here, because as I was going from house to house collecting all of the cheese, I noticed that the Mythic Dawn Museum was opening up. Although by this point my patience was wearing thin with questlines, I actually decided to follow through on this one because the end result would be me getting a much more stealthy weapon that I could use when breaking into people's homes. So I went to this place and then went to that place and this place and reforged the thing, bing bang boom, a little bit of cult sacrifice. Holy shit, is that Satan? Jeez, Electus. What makes you think I should give you my weapon? Well, if you do, I promise I won't install a mod to rename it as something else. Ah, okay, here you go. Ah, get scammed. I'm gonna go rename this. What? No! Alright, so I got my new weapon, but honestly, the name didn't really seem fitting to me. I mean, Mehrunes Razor, really? What am I gonna be doing with it? Shaving? No. So I installed a mod to let me rename Daedric artifacts, then changed the name of the weapon to be something that, in my opinion, is much more fitting. Okay, guys, stop throwing tomatoes. The rest of Dawnstar was fairly uneventful. It was really just this one Dwemer ruin remaining, and then a dungeon that lies on the border near Morfall. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to test out my new weapon. Hello. Hello, Mizinschleft. Where did it go? Oh wow, 1, 2, nice. Shut up. And here is the other one. That makes 3. Alright, it was now time to tackle Morfall. Shitty ass, fuck ass Morfall that nobody even likes. Now, I didn't feel like walking there, and I definitely didn't feel like spending money on a carriage ride. So to skip all that, I came up with the pretty interesting idea of taking a tactical kidnapping. That's right. Oh yeah. This is what a tactical kidnapping looks like. Following this, I was able to join the Dark Brotherhood, which would be important later, and also make my way over to Ustengrav, which has 5 cheese and is required to progress through the main storyline. I don't know whether it's on the inside or the outside though. I feel like it's probably a fair chance it's on the outside. Hey guys. Alright. Where could the cheese be? This is going to be another Mizulft situation where I'm going to miss most of it and I have to check in the creation kit again. Bucket? No, nothing in the bucket. What is this? Oh, I just went the way that I came from. I am a navigational genius. Never doubt my methods. If I keep this pace up, then I should be finished with this challenge by... probably by December next year. Yeah, I think that'll be a good time frame. You guys are cool with getting like 1 video a year, right? Like that's just something that we can establish here going forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5! Hell yeah. After failing almost every single puzzle at Ustengrav, I headed over to Movarf's lair, where I collected 4 more cheese, then got the 5 that was at Stonehills, along with the 3 at Fort Snowhawk. Which is just such a badass name. I mean, it sounds like the kind of place you'd gather your friends at to play the new Tony Hawk Skater Pro. Hands down, the coolest thing about Morfall. Speaking of which, I entered the city itself, where I proceeded to break into multiple homes and round up a grand total of 24 cheese. Now, if we head on over to the map, you might notice that proportionally to everywhere else, Solitude has a ridiculous amount of cheese, and I wanted to get started on it right away. Taking a quick fast travel over to the stables, I collected 18 cheese, followed by another 17 from the farm right beside it, and then 14 from the sawmill nearby. I skipped the docks for now as it requires a quest from the Thieves Guild, and instead crossed off the Dainty Slode, Solitude Lighthouse, and Broken Oar Grotto. Then I went to the other side of Solitude and did the same thing at all of these locations, including the hilariously named Orphan's Tier. I mean, Jesus, first we had Stillborn Cave, now Orphan's Tier. Does someone at Bethesda just hate children? Once the stuff outside was mostly done, it was time to move on to the city itself. Upon entering, I was greeted by a public execution, which must have been a great bonding activity for the whole family. But for me it was great because while everyone was distracted, I could break into their homes and steal their cheese. Don't mind if I do. Now, although there was a lot in Solitude, it mostly follows the same pattern as the rest of the cities I've done. There was, however, a few exceptions to this. For example, there's one piece of cheese that, although exists within a cell inside Solitude, can only be accessed via a COC command. There's another inside Victoria Vici's house that for some reason spawns inside of a cabinet. And I can't even say this is the only time this happens either, because there's another one just like it at the Falmore Embassy. Thanks, Bethesda. Back at Solitude, I finally got around to starting that Thieves Guild quest, which required me to stalk this guy all the way down to the East Empire Company warehouse, where I demonstrated unparalleled stealth, allowing me to complete the quest and collect all of the cheese at the Solitude docks. I was also steadily progressing through the Dark Brotherhood questline, with my next assignment being to kill the literal Emperor of Tamriel. Why did I have to do this? Well, this quest spawns in the Kataraya, which has 36 cheese, so diplomacy? Yeah, definitely not an option here. He has to die. So I boarded the ship, killed him, took all his cheese, and sat on his throne. Probably not a great day for that guy. At this stage of the challenge, cheese was becoming very thinned out, and the majority of what's left was inside of Markarth. Beginning with the trading company, I collected 2 cheese, then crossed the street over to Silverblood Inn, grabbing another 9, before making the terrible decision of entering this haunted house, where I got violently assaulted by a kettle. There's nothing else to add to that. I mean, I collected 8 cheese, what do you want me to say? So from here, I crossed off the Treasury House, Temple of Dibella, and Hag's Cure. This is good. Progress was being quickly made. To access the one piece of cheese that was inside of Sidna Mine, I would have to begin the Forsworn questline and get myself arrested. You know, I can't believe the guards in the city would frame me as being some kind of psychopathic murderer. I mean, if we just open my game stats, you can clearly see that. So anyways, they threw me in jail, but joke's on them, that's actually what I wanted. So after this, I escaped jail and collected the remaining 29 cheese inside Understone Keep. And this brought the total cheese count up to 1,548. So I'm over here thinking, you know, just 222 left? That's pennies. That's nothing, alright? That's gonna take me no time at all. What could go wrong? Towards the end of Markarth's collection, I encountered a cave called Liar's Retreat, and if you ask me, this fuck-ass cave is pretty adequately named. Upon entering it, things seem normal. There are some enemies which I quickly dispatch, and before long I arrive at the end of the cave, having collected multiple cheese along the way. There's just one problem. I'm missing a piece. So I start again from the beginning, and nothing. By this point I was getting a little worried. I mean, what am I gonna do? Collect 1,769 cheese? No. Get out of here. I checked the creation kit with the intention of finding out where this last piece could possibly be, and realised that it was an Eider cheese wedge. The only problem is when I click the preview of that object in this particular cell, it shows me one that I've already collected. So now, I'm more than a little worried. I am extremely worried. If I couldn't find a way to cycle through the preview of objects, then all of my efforts up until this point will have been wasted. After countless hours of planning and collecting, was this where it all ended? Right as things started to seem hopeless, I discovered a shortcut inside of the creation kit. See, if you select an object, then press Alt plus Shift plus the middle mouse wheel, you can change an object to be something entirely different. Then, if you click that same object in the Use Info panel, it will show you a different iteration of the former object inside that cell. This showed me exactly where the last piece of cheese for Liar's Retreat was, glitched inside of the floor, under this table. Thanks, Bethesda. The last hold before Sovngarde to take care of was Falkreath, and it's done. I mean, seriously, what even happens in Falkreath? Hey, traveler, have you seen this dog we're looking for? Yeah, actually, I think I just saw him escaping from your prison. Falkreath, realistically, did not take long. And now that all 9 holes were essentially wrapped up, it was time to clean up the last of my unfinished business. So before taking the trip to Sovngarde, I collected all of the remaining cheese inside of player homes, finished quest lines, and watched this one Whiterun guard get absolutely blasted. Sucks to be that guy. What the fuck? After boarding my flight up to Skuldafn, I battled my way through Draugr Deathlord after Draugr Deathlord, each one more determined to spam the unrelenting force shout than the last. Arriving at the portal to Sovngarde, there was just one more enemy to take care of. You know, I think me and this guy might be related. Anyway, I went in the portal and right off the bat, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Okay, this looks like some kind of Minecraft beta 1.7 footage. Somehow, I made it to the bridge, where I passed the test and inside the Hall of Valor, went from table to table collecting the remaining pieces of cheese, until it was just one remaining. And with that, 1,770. All I had to do now was kill Alduin and then drop off the remaining cheese inside of Cheesehome. The only thing in my way was myself. Yes, you see, throughout this video I have committed a plethora of crimes, and I am now wanted in every single hold. In my sleep-deprived state, I forgot about this, so after accidentally talking to a guard in Whiterun, I was arrested and all of my cheese confiscated. I asked the guard what I was in for and he simply replied, everything. So in a fit of rage, I tore open my cell bars and suplexed him into the floor. This didn't really help me though, because he just put me back in my cell. So in a final act of desperation, I spawned 4 octillion cheese inside of my cell. That's right, I'm the fucking cheese bender now. And yeah, this obviously crashed my game. I reloaded my last save and lo and behold, it was right before I got arrested. So this time, I avoided the guard and dumped the last of the cheese inside Cheesehome. Or should I say, Cheesehome. Okay, well, that's it, right? Well, not exactly. See, throughout this video, I've been doing this crazy thing called lying. This isn't all of the cheese in Skyrim. There's still 3 DLCs I haven't even mentioned, which add an additional 156 cheese to the game. So gamers, I'm gonna take a short break from working on Cheesehome, and then we'll be back to finish this once and for all. Until then, I've posted the map I've been using on my members page, along with a whole other video that serves as a supercut showing me collecting all of the cheese. So if you're interested in any of that, I'll leave a link to become a channel member down in the description. That's right gamers, I just hit 30,000 subscribers and I'm already selling out. Things only go downhill from here.